The time right now is 31 minutes past 8, and it's a Thursday, and that means that film critic Howard Elias is sitting across from me in the studio. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, with our RTHK Radio 4 logo behind my head.
There we go.
Yeah, so if you're watching me on Facebook Live, you see that this is Radio 4.
Yay.
Not my bedroom. Pretty ugly bedroom, but anyway.
Oh, and we did clean it up recently.
Did we? I didn't notice.
Okay.
Really? Is this cleaner?
Let's talk about the most overpaid actors for 2017.
Yeah, Forbes, every year at this time, they release a list of Hollywood's most overpaid actors, which their metric is they take what the actor is estimated to have earned throughout the year on their films, and divide that into, or divide one into the other, of how much how much their films make, and they come up with a metric. And this year's most overpaid actor is, I'll let you say it,
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah,
I like him.
yeah, I like him too, but his films haven't done well this year. I mean, he did Deepwater Horizon, which I actually liked.
Yeah, I did too.
It wasn't a great film, but it was a good film, but didn't do very well. So apparently, yeah, according to Forbes, he earned, or the box office earned it's quite a funny metric, $4.40 for every dollar they paid him. That's actually a pretty good return on investment, 4 to 1.
Well, they did make a profit.
They made a profit, you know.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting metric, because there must be other actors. I guess there aren't other actors who lose money. But okay, whatever.
Yeah, there must be, exactly. So I don't understand why he's at that.
I don't
Anyway,
understand
okay.
either.
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting. And who else? I just lost the article. So I think
Christian
Bale,
list,
Denzel Washington. I mean, these are good actors, but I guess this year they haven't had good movies. Last year there was Julia Roberts was on the list, Adam Sandler, who definitely should be on the list every year, in my opinion. Oh yeah, the other bomb of a film for Mark Wahlberg this year was. Oh no, it's interesting, because I was going to say the Transformers: The Last Night, or Transformers 26 or whatever number it was. But it says, according to this, that Transformers: Last Night and Daddy's Home 2, which I think is playing here right now, weren't included because they were released after their measuring period.
And they've been doing very well. So
Daddy's Home 2, I don't think has been.
Maybe he won't be on the list. We'll have to wait. Okay. Why don't we talk about the film that you'd like to review this week, which is very interesting. It screens in the Berlinale. I know that much. The Tokyo night sky is always the densest shade of blue. Very long title for a film about what I believe is two young misfits who fall in love.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so Tokyo Night Sky is always the densest shade of blue. Very long title. Probably not the longest title a movie has ever had, but certainly pretty close to it. If you speak Japanese, it's Yo Zoro wa itsu demo saiko mitsudo no airo da. Not bad, eh? Yeah, well, yes, that comes from 2 years of studying Japanese. So, now, if you're the highly observant type, and I think I am, if you're somebody who notices the things that are happening around you while everyone else remains oblivious to them, then this might just be the film for you. But having said that, this was not the film for me. This was a very interesting film. Now, Mika, who's played by newcomer Shizuka Ishibashi, so you've never seen her in a movie before, but she has pedigree, which I'll talk about in a second. Mika is a hospice nurse at a rather nondescript Tokyo hospital. It's very interesting at this hospital. When patients die on her ward, all the nurses stand out in the hallway and bow as they carry the body away, which is probably accurate, I would say.
That's a sign of respect.
Yeah, I don't think.
Very nice one too.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, to supplement her income, or perhaps to add some color to her very drab life, she moonlights as a hostess in a girly bar. You know what these hostesses, they pour drinks, but they don't do anything more than that. So she pours drinks for bored, drunk, and horny salarymen. But even that job doesn't cheer her up, as she heads home each night to her equally nondescript dormitory flat, where her pet turtle awaits. Mm-hmm. So she can't even have a cat. We can't even call her Cat Lady. She's a turtle lady. So
she is obsessed with death, from what I understand.
She's obsessed with death, yes.
So really, being a nurse is not a very good job.
Well, maybe that's why she's a nurse on a ward where people die. I don't know. Okay. So for Mika, Tokyo is a very lonely city. And in fact, she even says at one point, the moment you love Tokyo, it's like you've killed yourself. What a lovely thought. So I found that line a little strange, because I said to myself, okay, so she hates Tokyo, but this is living? It doesn't quite work. Well, meanwhile, Shinji, played by Sosuke Ikematsu, he slaves away as a day laborer at a 2020 Olympics construction site. But his life is not all that different from Mika's. His wages barely cover the rent for his very, very tiny flat. Here we talk about micro flats. There they also have micro flats. Plus a few beers and snacks each night with his 3 work buddies. One of them being a Filipino migrant who speaks pretty good Japanese, certainly better than mine. Now Mika and Shinji cross paths one night when she walks into one of the bars where Shinji and the boys have gone to blow off some steam and dream about better days ahead for all of them. But the two they notice each other, but they don't interact. But then a few days later, he walks into her bar, and then they start talking. And you see these two are very lonely hearts, and you think, okay, they're going to find happiness together. Mm-hmm. But no, director Yuya Ishii, he doesn't allow that to happen, at least not so fast. Because as chatty as Shinji is, Mika is reserved, and as upbeat, considering the circumstances, as Shinji is, Mika is quite dour. And they both have pasts that they each need to deal with. For her, she has an ex-boyfriend who still loves her, though she doesn't love him, and it's a strange. He says he loves her, but he doesn't really love her, and she knows that. Yeah.
That's strange. Yes, okay.
And
I would say that's actually quite a nice thing to have as an ex-boyfriend who still loves you, even if you don't love them.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
It would make you almost feel good, not bad.
Well,
because it's your decision to be doing the breaking up.
But I think she realizes it's an unhealthy. He doesn't really love her. He says he does, but he doesn't.
Well, that's just weird.
Yeah, and she realizes that. And she also has, she had a mother who died far too young. So that's where you talk about she has these preoccupations with death. So she has to deal with that her mother died far too young. Now for Shinji, it's the loss of vision in one of his eyes. And for him, that we don't know how he lost the vision in his eye, but it seems to have taken away his will to achieve more. And there's a scene for him in the movie where somebody from his past, a girl he went to school with, gets in touch with him, and she thinks he's quite successful. She's looking for a rich man to look after her, and she thinks he's quite successful. He's anything but successful. So it was a very, I don't want to say amusing. It was a little bittersweet, I would say, their meeting. So the two of them, Mika and Shinji, have their issues, but the two of them manage to eke out a bit of joy when they are together. I wouldn't call it they go on dates in the traditional sense, but they do get together sometimes and walk around parts of Tokyo at night. And they seem to find some common ground when they both notice a dirigible flying up over the city while everyone else is glued to their mobile phones. They both notice a stray puppy on the side of the road. Oh, kawaii-sone, very typical Japanese. Or when they agree that the Tokyo night sky is the densest shade of blue.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Isn't it, though?
Well, so many people can relate to this.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's a very relatable film.
You're actually right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Now, apparently, a Bloomberg article from earlier this year claims that in the world's biggest economies, Japan's millennials are the least optimistic. This is true.
Really?
Yeah, this is true.
I would have thought it was elsewhere, actually.
Yeah. Now, certainly Mika and Shinji fit the bill, as these two are going nowhere fast, and they know it. They both know it. Even if they would consider getting married, they wouldn't be able to afford it, and forget about having kids. They couldn't possibly afford having kids. And that sense of frustration and disappointment is really what this film is about. That they're in a rut. They're stuck in a rut, and they don't know how to get out of it. They know they can't get out of it. Let's put it that way. And you know, for me, being of a different generation, okay, I can appreciate that. I couldn't really relate to it, but I could appreciate it. But afterwards, when I was talking to some local, you know, Hong Kong people who were of that age, they're like bawling their eyes out, and they said, "Oh, we so understand this." And then sort of like the light bulb turned on over my head, and I went, "Yeah, I get it. I really get it now." Because I remember during the Occupy, I went to Causeway Bay one night, and I was talking to a couple people who were camped out on the street, and I started chatting with them. They were both teachers, and they were saying, "We can't afford a flat. We can't afford to get married. We can't afford to send our, you know, have kids and pay for education and doctor bills and dentists, the whole thing." And they were so depressed by it, you know. And so I said, I get it. I get why these people are feeling this way, right? Quite sad, actually. So the movie is based on the poetry anthology of a young woman from Kobe, Japan, by the name of Tahi Saihate. Tahi, I don't know if that's a Japanese, maybe that's a pen name for her, I don't know. But she has made a name for herself writing a blog and posting her poetry online. She's won a number of awards for her work, including the prestigious Nakahara Chuya Prize, which is presented each year to an outstanding collection of contemporary poetry characterized by what is, in quotes, fresh sensibility. So the people who pick the poets and the poems recognized her fresh approach to poetry. Now, throughout the film, we hear her poetry, mostly spoken by Mika, and it makes for some stilted conversation. You know, it's not every day we spout poetry in our normal conversation. And so if realistic dialogue is your thing, you're not going to like this movie. Right? But if you're into poetry, you're going to be bawling your eyes out. And certainly the people who sat behind me in the theater were bawling their eyes out through this film. I could hear them going, yeah, it's quite sad. Now, as for the woman who plays Mika, Ishibashi is her surname, she is the daughter of the famous Japanese actress Miyako Harada, who appeared in last year's film, which I hated, If Cats Disappeared from the World. But she also appeared in one of my favorite Japanese films of all time, Ran, which is the Japanese version of King Lear, where she is Lady Kaede. Did we have this? Did I have this talk with you or with Jonathan? No. Did you ever see the movie Ran? R-A-N? No. Kurosawa's movie? Oh my God, you have to see it. You have to see it. The movie is amazing, and she is amazing. So this girl Ishibashi is her daughter. Now, and I think, you know, for a first movie, I thought she did quite well. And also the fellow Ikimatsu, I thought he was good. I've never seen him in anything. So I thought, yeah, the acting was good. The cinematography is very interesting. Good in twee, I would say. It's Tokyo is very colorful, but very cold. You know, this is how we filmed it. It's colorful but cold. And that's a real fine line to cut, that you can make it look pretty, but not warm. You know, very interesting. So I appreciated that. And that's exactly, you know, I think he captured how the characters feel about Tokyo. You know, that it's a big city, but it's not a warm city, right? And throughout the film, that I appreciated. What I didn't appreciate so much was throughout the film, animated scenes are in there. So there's one scene with the puppy where all of a sudden the puppy becomes animated. And the whole scene becomes animated, and it's like something like from Hello Kitty, and you go, "Oh God!" You know. So I didn't like that at all, but other people were like, "Oh my God, it's wonderful!" So while this was not my kind of film, I can certainly appreciate why younger audiences are feeling it. You know, I get it, because there's millennial angst out there, and you know, nobody does millennial angst better than Japanese millennials, apparently. So, and I also appreciate it because it's different than most of the other young adult-oriented Japanese films that are coming out these days, where, you know, it's like school kids played by 30-year-old actors who look like school kids. There was this movie that came out a couple of weeks ago, which I didn't see, and I really wanted to see it, called something about Let Me Eat Your Pancreas or something like that. Yeah. I wanted to see it just for the name alone, you know, for the title alone. Yeah, I mean, so I appreciate that this is a more mature-looking film, even if it is a little bit depressing. So, yeah, okay, you know, take it or leave it. It's interesting. I did want to talk about Star Wars, which also opens today, but I'm not seeing it until tonight. So I will talk about it next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Howard Elias.